recording here. It's ready. It's time for a classic episode of The Third Wheel at Night. Okay, here I go. We have to clap together in 3, 2, 1. That wasn't at all in unison. You started 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Welcome back to The Third Wheel podcast.
At night.
Oh no,
What?
The button's going crazy on me. All right. I'm Caleb.
And I'm Darcy.
This is the craziest time on the Third Wheel podcast. We have not seen Darcy in months. So yeah, we're finally back after that crazy break. Darcy, well, I don't know. How do I start this? I could really go for a secret thing right about now. How about you?
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. How do you feel about those Darcy secret things? I don't know.
You know how I feel about them right about now. That's an inside joke. That'll stay an inside joke.
I don't know what it means.
That somebody's going to take out of context and think it's about them,
Yep.
and it's not. Like everything else on this podcast.
This time it is.
Well, not my comment. Yours was.
Yeah,
I think we've spent enough time being pretty mellow. Nothing's ever been about this particular person, and since they want to think everything's about them, might as well make it about them.
May as well. I'm just waiting on that paperwork. I'm scared. Please, God, I hope somebody doesn't come up to me and hand me papers. Oh,
real.
I'm waiting though. Hey,
It's been years.
yeah, I'm here. I'm waiting on this paperwork to come in, please.
Right.
So anyway, how do I sound okay on this?
Yeah.
Okay,
You
cool.
sound fine. Does
Maybe.
mine sound fine?
Yeah, yours is fine.
Okay.
All right, well, that's good then. All right, Darcy, we're back. We have not talked about this book. So we shot an episode on chapter 2, if I'm correct, of this book.
Me and you did chapter 3, I thought. Or
No.
2 and 3?
Just 2.
Yeah, I'm at a loss.
Yeah, way out. So it turns out me and Darcy shot chapter 2, and we hadn't even done chapter 1 because I did the intro with Heather, and I thought I did chapter 1 with Heather. So
That's what you get for cheating on me.
Yeah, so we're gonna come. Huh?
On the podcast.
Oh.
On the co-host. The co-host. Damn it.
Yeah.
I'm
I love you,
just
baby.
tying a lot of loops together here. I'm just speaking from my own personal stuff.
Can we edit that out?
Oh, I can't, yeah. For real. It was like, so Caleb is making, can I talk about the commercial?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So Caleb's making a commercial, and he was wanting like a little 5-second blooper from everyone of just smiling, waving to a camera, being like, it's me, Darcy.
Yeah.
So I went to go send it to him on Facebook Messenger, and I was like, is this one good enough? Mostly because I didn't take a new one. It was just one where like I got my hair cut, so I was like, ooh. And so I sent it. I was like, is this one good enough? And then your wife texts back and was like, yeah, but what's this for? And I was like, oh, LOL, sorry, wrong Calvary. And then immediately I was like, oh my God, that did not look or sound okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, for the commercial,
Yeah.
the commercial.
Yeah, for real.
And she was like it clicked for her also, thankfully.
Yeah.
But she even said she jumped through like 10 emotions where she was like, why are you sending this to either Caleb or Matt?
Yeah.
What is going on here? And I was like, oh God, I felt so bad.
Have you seen that meme where it's like, I forget what they send. They send like a really awesome picture. They're dressed like in a nerd thing. And they say, oh, sorry, wrong person. Like, wait, who is the right person?
Right.
Who is the right person?
It made me think of that. I sent you, I don't know if you watched the TikTok that I sent you, but it makes me think of that one guy where he's sitting there and he's videotaping himself and he's like, if you got kids, don't bring them around me. And he says it with like a smirk and he goes, pause, stop. He was like, I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to teach him bad words. And,
Yeah.
And that's immediately what popped in my head when I was like, wrong Calvary. And I was like, pause.
Yeah.
Commercial.
Yeah. Commercial coming soon. I think I sent Shaps everything he needs. So I'm excited. Okay. Did you see our recent burst in subscribers?
Yes.
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's that ad we ran. Pretty neat. So I'm really excited for this trailer. I think it's going to really do something for us. So, okay, if it sounds okay on your end, that's cool. Just sounds weird to me. But is my headphone plugged in all the way on that side? Okay. All right, never mind. I'll just speak loudly and clearly for the show. All right.
Why'd you cross your eyes when you did that?
Did I? Loudly and clearly. I'm so sorry, audience. Hopefully they can't see that because it's kind of angled away from me. I'm hoping it's like, all right, enough.
Oh my god.
Getting me sidetracked here. Wait, this is a long chapter. We got stuff to talk about.
Oh, I'm so
today.
sorry.
Yeah, for real.
Just don't look like that anymore.
I have a major headache and I'm laughing too hard. Marry him. The case for settling for Mr. Good Enough. If you guys have been following this series for a while, welcome. Hey, good to see you again. Also, if you're new here, hi, welcome. Good to see you. This book is written by a woman, so nobody can cry sexism here on this show.
Unless they think that it's a woman against all women.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like
okay.
me.
We're definitely talking about one person, and that's all we ever talk about on the show is just you. You okay, Darci? Okay, moving on. All right, it's written by a woman, Lori Gottlieb. Now, if you remember from the introduction, this woman is single. I think she's in her late 40s now. And she's going through talking about how she and a bunch of other women in America pass up good men because they kind of discount them for some superficial reason or something that doesn't matter in the long run. So for this chapter, she talks to people in their 20s, and then she talks to people in their 30s, and so on and so forth, and kind of tries to get a best guess of what women are looking for. And are they looking for what's best for them and what would make them happy? Or are they have their expectations too high? And that's the theme of this book, is expectations. So
I have not read it, so I am
That is
making my first reaction. You are seeing for yourselves, and just making basic commentary on what comes to my mind when I hear these things.
booyah. All right. So chapter 1. So we shot chapter 2 already, not realizing we hadn't done chapter 1 yet. So
Yeah, I guess you don't have to remind me what we talked about because it
that's
doesn't
correct.
matter.
It doesn't matter because
Yeah.
that's for the future.
Yeah.
Okay, that was ourselves from the future communicating to the past. All right, chapter 1, the dating trenches. I will do my best, Darci, to not read word for word, to summarize as best we can. There's a lot of good stuff this chapter, so there's a chance we might not even finish. But if you hear something you really like, please stop me and we can discuss. And I'll try to take good breaks and have discussion topics. So let's see. Lori talks about one night, my friend Julia called to say she had just broken up with her boyfriend, Greg. Okay, remember Greg, he's very important. I just wasn't inspired by him, she said. So let's see.
This is using real life examples
Real
instead
life
of movie examples. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she changed her friend's name. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure Greg's not real and Julia's not their actual name. You know what I mean? Okay, so she said she met Greg 2 years earlier. They were both 28, and he was a coworker at a nonprofit. She thought he was cute, sweet, and very smart. He was kind of unstylish. He wore nerdy high-waisted corduroys all the time. But she liked how real he was, how unpretentious and non-materialistic he was. She felt ease with him in a way she hadn't with previous boyfriends. And then, let's see. Whenever someone wronged her, he had her back. Whenever she felt insecure, he made her feel beautiful. You'd think this would have made her love him all the more, and it did at first. But now, as Greg started talking about marriage, it began to have the opposite effect.
Weird.
Greg made me feel like I was the most wonderful woman in the world. Naturally, I guess that means she wants to dump him. So then I started thinking, if I'm so wonderful, maybe I should be with someone better.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
By better, she meant, in part, someone more charismatic. Greg could be shy and somewhat insecure in social situations, while Julia was confident and outgoing. Julia was quick with the one-liners, while Greg had a more subtle sense of humor. It sounds like
that's such a good combo, though.
I know, right?
That's such a good compliment.
Greg, if you're out there, I'm so sorry if you're listening. Greg came from a more modest background than Julia did, so he didn't always share the more sophisticated references that came up with Julia's friends in conversation. Meanwhile, thanks to Greg's encouragement, Julia had risen up the ladder at work and eventually earned more money than he did. Not a lot more, but it made Julia uncomfortable. How do you feel about that, making more than your potential spouse? Right? Am I wrong here?
Right.
But it made her uncomfortable, guys. And when a woman's uncomfortable, we need to work really hard to make her feel better.
Yeah.
You know?
Whether she's, making it all up in her head or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Or lying. We got to stop. We're going to ruin this
I
whole
know.
conversation. Yes, we are talking about you. Sorry.
For the first time, just to be clear.
Yeah.
So that's weird to me because, like, Paul and I have never really cared who makes more. Now, eventually in life, I desire to be taken care of. I
Right.
desire to be provided for whenever kids come along and stuff like that. But in the moment, if one makes more than the other, it doesn't really matter to me. At the end of the day, when you're married, like you're one, it's both of your money. So I don't care if 20K is coming from you and 80K is coming from me. As long as you're not only making 20K because you're being a bum on, Xbox all day and you're only working 5 hours a week and letting, that's a problem. But if like the starting pay is just different and you're doing similar hours, you're doing similar work, or like for what Paul and I do, in technicality, I make more than him because my hourly is higher, but I work less hours. But I also take care of the apartment and dinners and laundry and cleaning. So like it, evens out.
In all honesty, though, as long as Paul's like family oriented and probably does a lot of the stuff at the house too, like I think you'd be, unless I'm wrong, you'd probably be happy if he worked at McDonald's, you know, as long as he was working and I don't know, came home and did family stuff.
Comfortable in life, and like if he was working at McDonald's and we were struggling to make ends meet, and I was having to work 70 hours a week to pull it off because he was doing something like that, I wouldn't be very happy with that.
Sure.
But, he doesn't need to have a six-figure job and, no.
Yeah. You prefer him more present, while y'all are together and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I want to work, Julia said, but I don't know. It's not how I imagine my marriage would be. I pointed out, this is Lori talking, the author, I pointed out that Greg was sweeter than anyone she dated, especially her last boyfriend, the ambitious lawyer, who often forgot to call her when he said he would. Greg was loving and reliable. He was passionate about his work. They had great sex. They shared similar interests.
Yeah, we all know how these lawyers can be out here.
Objection. Oh, no. Who texted me? My lawyer friend. Unrelated. All right. They shared similar interests, especially because they worked in the same field. They had a lot of fun together. But he wasn't inspiring enough, Julia repeated. He's just this, really nice, regular kind of guy. I started feeling like, this is it. This is the guy I've waited my whole life for. I'm worried that long term I'm going to outgrow him. I'm going to want more. Well, she's 28, right? So, What do you think? Do you think she's wrong, right? Is there someone better? Is she missing something,
This seems to sound dumb. Honestly, to me, like if somebody's like nice to you and sweet and goes out of their way for you and shares similar value, I can get it if you're on like two separate paths. If you want kids and they don't.
Yeah.
If, you want to be a stay-at-home mom and they're like, no, we're doing daycare because both of us need to be working. Sure, when you're having disagreements with things.
Yeah.
Yes, that can be a problem. It can be worked through. If you decide not to, it's understandable. Mm-hmm. But some of these like little nitpicky, like, oh, he's not as funny as I am. Okay. Like,
wait till we get to this.
enjoy the fact that he laughs at your jokes. Then enjoy the fact that you're funny. Like,
What you said was so relevant to this chapter.
Really?
I can't wait to get to it. Yeah.
Interesting.
But okay, so where do you feel on the thing of like maybe there's someone better out there? Like I'm with this guy and he's great. Okay, I'm with you. It sounds dumb because he meets all her needs emotionally, physically. He has a job, which that's a big problem for women who marry the first guy they see. Is like they realize, wow, he's just lazy, he doesn't work. I'm working 3 jobs to support him. I know people like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, so she seems to have everything she wants, but there's something scratching at her head where it's like, is this it? This is everything? Like, what do you think she's struggling with here? On paper, this guy's great.
Something very specific, and it's in my head, but I'm trying to find the word for it. Okay. Sorry, I have this weird little staple thing.
Whatever helps you.
Yeah.
Well, I say whatever helps you. It doesn't seem to be helping, and I'm very disappointed in you.
I don't know if that would just be like lack of confidence. I don't know, because that like being unsatisfied, I don't know. People have a tendency to not be satisfied where they're at in life. They always think, okay, I'll be satisfied once I start making this much money. Yeah. I'll be satisfied once we own a home. I'll be satisfied once we have our second kid. I'll be like, there's all these things that you think you're going to be satisfied in once you get to there. And so that sets you up for disappointment. So for her, she probably thought, I'll be satisfied once I find a nice guy. And then she found a nice guy and felt that unsatisfaction in of herself because she's never felt satisfied in the moment and content with where she's at and constantly seeking happiness from things that they add to it for sure, but they're not like the ultimate source.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know where to recommend people to get that source if they're not Christian, because for us personally, like, that's Jesus. Right.
Yeah.
You know, I understand that people do find those kinds of things outside of religion. I personally don't know where to point that to. But whatever it is, you need to find satisfaction in the moment. Even if you're in a, you know, like we were a trailer, a trashy trailer, like finding satisfaction in that and not waiting until we have this thing to be happy.
Yeah. I always thought I'd be happy when I became a police officer, and I chased that dream for 5 years. And just like law enforcement in general is not what it's all cracked up to be. So like I'm still miserable. I thought I'd be happy when I had a girlfriend, and then I found a way to have just a girlfriend. I realized there's no connection. I'm still not happy, you know, but on paper, like, she's great. Like, she's happy. She's nice to me. She likes to take care of me. Like, why am I miserable, you know? And I'm not talking about my wife. My wife's amazing. She does great for me. And she does all the things I didn't know I needed. But back in the day when I was younger and more mature, I'm chasing this dream that just probably doesn't exist, you know? So while I'm dating that girl, I'm sitting here like, man, there's got to be something better. There's something like, you know, or, you know, maybe she'll get in a car wreck and then I'll have to break up with her, you know? That'll be the easy thing, you know? It's hard. Breaking up with someone's hard. You just kind of hope.
I never had that complication.
Yeah, whatever. Must be nice.
Yeah. But I don't know. Waiting for something or someone to make you happy, I think, is where that gets set up. Because, you know, on paper, this dude is everything that she dreamed of having.
It never works, I think. When you're waiting on someone else to make you happy, that just never works out.
Right.
I mean.
So it causes that feeling of like, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
So there must be something better out there that I'm missing.
Right.
When that's not the case. Like, if you're always chasing better and never being appreciative of now, you're never going to be satisfied and you're always going to want something better.
I agree.
That's not always the case, that there is something better out there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Greg sounds great.
Yeah.
What the heck is better than Greg?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and I think did she list any characteristics yet, or we've not gotten there? Let's see. Something more charismatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, she went like more of what? Okay, here we go. So he wasn't inspiring enough, Julia repeated. He's just this, you know, really nice, regular kind of guy. I started feeling like this is it. This is a guy I've waited all my life for. I'm worried that long term I'm going to outgrow him. I'm going to want more. So then Lori, the author, asked, more what? Then the phone line went silent for what seemed like a long time. More like I imagined, she said. He just wasn't husband material. I don't even think she knows what that means, right?
Is she going to list why he wasn't husband material?
Probably not.
Okay.
And with that, another great guy bit the dust. Or did he? What were people looking for in a husband nowadays anyway? So this next portion, it's going to be a little bit of reading, but I think it's pretty important. She sits down with a panel of, let's see, not long after my conversation with Julia, I got together with 5 20-something single women at a bar in Los Angeles and asked, why is it hard to find husband material? So, okay, you got the stage, right? She brings in 5 20-year-old women. She sits them down and she says, what's husband material? Their consensus, we'd like a guy, but we don't need a guy, so why should we lower our standards? I'd rather be alone than settle, said Olivia, a 27-year-old web designer. I've had annoying roommates in my early 20s, but I can't imagine having to eat all my dinners and sleep in the same bed with a male roommate who happens to be the husband I settled for. How do you feel about that? I'd rather be alone than settle.
It depends what you mean by settle.
Yeah.
Like, if you're talking about Greg, girl, get over yourself.
Yeah, that's a 401k and a half.
If you're talking about settling, like with some of the big issues I talked about, where it's like, okay, he's Muslim and I'm atheist. Like, yeah, you probably don't want to just settle for that.
Right.
You want to find somebody that you can be in agreement with big things on. But if you're talking about settling because they're not as cute as you thought they were going to be, or quite as funny as, or like not as social as you are, like.
Yeah. So let me go through what all they say then, and then let me know if you agree or disagree. Well, I don't know about you, Olivia continued, half joking, but I would need to love someone very deeply in order to brush my teeth 2 feet away from where he's taking a dump every morning. I suggested that all kidding aside, bathroom doors can be closed, but opportunities to meet good men aren't always open. I asked the group how they define settling. Did it mean picking a guy who's truly annoying or compromising on some desired qualities but getting other more important ones? And what would those important ones be? Well, even if he's nice and smart and attractive, I can't be with someone boring, said Nora, a radio producer. Exactly, said Claire, a graduate student. There are guys who are smart, but then you're shocked to learn that for all the intelligence, they aren't just that interesting, you know? They have to be smart in an interesting way. They have to be curious.
I can understand if someone's boring.
That is fair. Okay, but what's boring here?
Right.
So okay, not boring. That's the first thing. Okay, let's see. But intelligent, but interesting. They have to be smart in an interesting way. They have to be curious. Curious, but not earnest, said Nina, a marketing executive. They have to be a little edgy. Okay, but not too edgy, said Nora. They have to be normal, but just not boring. Okay. I asked the women for examples of what they meant by boring. Well, they have to have a sense of humor, said Nina.
That's a big one for me, yeah.
Yeah,
I need to be able to laugh with you.
They can't just be sitting there laughing at something funny, I might say. Boring guys aren't funny, but they think you're funny. Or the opposite, said Claire. They think that if a woman laughs at their jokes, she has a sense of humor. Only a boring person believes that. Or a narcissist, said Lauren, a fundraiser for political causes. Well, narcissists are boring, said Olivia, and the group broke into laughter. That was a good one, Olivia. I told those women, all reasonably attractive but not drop-dead gorgeous, all interesting but not off-the-charts fascinating, that at a certain point, they might get lonely going on all these dates looking for the perfect one instead of building a nice life with someone. I'm already lonely, but loneliness is better than boredom, said Lauren. She finds her stable fundraising job boring at times, but it's often fulfilling too, so she won't leave it for her true passion, painting, because it's too risky. So you'll compromise in your choice of a job but not your choice of a partner, I asked. You willing to spend 8 hours a day in a good enough career instead of leaving it for your true love being an artist? Lauren thought about this for a minute. You know what she asked her? So it was like, you're okay being bored at your job, but not with a partner. And then she says, well, that's different. I'm practical about my career, but to be practical about love, you can't be practical about a feeling. That seems just so unromantic. Just then, a cutish guy who seemed to be about 30 walked by and checked out the women. They ignored him. I asked why. Too short, said Olivia, who's 5'2". What's up with those glasses, added Claire, who wears chunky glasses herself. I wondered if they'd be open to dating a short guy with last year's style of glasses if he had many of the other qualities they wanted. Smart, funny, slightly edgy, kind, successful, and of course, not boring. How much do first appearances matter? Oh, I've tried that, Nora said. I can't make myself become attracted to someone. You have to feel it from the beginning.
No.
if you
Disagree.
If you aren't physically attractive when you meet them, you're always forcing it, and it never works.
That is no.
All right, well,
Disagree.
okay. We sparked something you said, or your thought here, so hit me.
I mean, I can understand, like, okay, we had a very specific friend that was into someone that she was not attracted to him. And it was a fixable issue. It was a weight thing. And, if somebody's like overweight, not a big deal. He was a pretty hefty guy, So like, I get it. I get it. You need some physical attraction. That was too far for you. But it is a fixable thing. So had he been willing to fix that, I think that potentially there could have been interest there.
So
like
you think
if you're absolutely disgusted with the way somebody looks,
sure.
Yeah, you're probably never going to get over that all the way. But if it's just somebody that doesn't like intrigue you off the bat, like that is an attraction that grows. I was not attracted to Paul when I first met him. And not because I didn't think he himself wasn't an attractive person, but he wasn't my type. Yeah. He was very, very opposite of my type. Mm-hmm. I didn't think he was ugly though. Sure. But as I grew to know him and grew to know his personality and a lot of those things, funny, not boring, edgy, but not, so much so that he's like this bad boy, like all those things, like the attraction continued to grow. I think that even when, I don't know, that happens with a lot of people I know. Right. Even friends where it's like I got to know their personality and they became a more attractive person. They were ugly.
They had that butter face. But his face.
Or seeing someone thinking they're absolutely beautiful and you get to know their personality and you think they're ugly now. Yeah. Like I've known a couple people like that as well where I saw them and I was like, wow, she is beautiful. Yeah. or he is very handsome, and I got to know them, and now I'm like,
That's
they're
foul.
ugly, because it's just like that personality overtakes your physical appearance.
I agree with that.
If their nose is too big and it bothers you, that's something you grow accustomed to. Now,
Yeah, I don't mind a big nose on a woman. Let me tell you, I've met some people with.
I like big noses.
Like you do?
Yeah.
You actually do?
Yeah.
I do too. I actually find them very attractive.
Like what is it? Those big old Egyptian noses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen The Nun? That's not really your thing,
Yeah.
but like the actress that plays her, she looks like that just without the makeup, the big
Right.
nose and everything.
Yeah.
Like she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know, I forget her name, but I mean, yeah, exactly. I like noses on a woman. So, yeah, I'm with you. Like, attractions are definitely a thing for first impressions, but yeah, as time goes on, you kind of get over it.
Mm-hmm.
There was that girl in her 30s. We did a whole episode on her. And I, most physically attractive, not sure, probably not, but I was like, maybe there's something underneath that I'm missing here. And boy, there was something underneath, but it was a turd.
Yeah.
It's a cat litter.
Did she get to know the man underneath the tattoos?
That's not what I was talking about, but and no, she did not. With that, we should pause and reset the cameras.
Already?
Yeah, we're at 26 minutes. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Time to sync up them claps. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right. Hope that's easy on you, buddy.
I didn't like the way you said
Okay,
that.
whatever. You still did it. All right. Okay. So, yeah. All right. So let's see here. Okay. At first, I was surprised by how readily the 20-somethings dismissed this cute guy without even considering starting up a conversation to learn more about him. I mean, this wasn't college where the playing field was pretty evenly matched in terms of available romantic prospects. This was the adult world where people were pairing off and getting married, where the pool of single men was getting smaller. There wasn't a built-in mechanism for meeting like-minded people the way there'd been in the past. It doesn't get any better. Look, if you're like me, in your 20s, it's hit or miss. I'm a good-looking guy, but I'm not one of the beautiful people that can just go out there and grab somebody immediately. You got to wait and work on the right person. So let's see. I remembered myself in my 20s, but when the possibilities still seemed tantalizingly endless, even if they weren't. Desperate but picky. The difference a decade makes. A few nights later, 5 single women in their late 30s to early 40s met me at the same bar. So now she grabs people 10 years after the first panel of women, okay? 10 years, give or take. Okay?
10 years older, not met with the same people 10 years later, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is a few nights later, 5 single women in their late 30s to early 40s met me in the same bar, okay? I asked the same question, why is it hard to find a good guy? I filled them in on the conversation I've had with the younger women about boredom and loneliness. So Stephanie says, check back with them in 10 years. An attractive 39-year-old politician said, if you're holding out for Prince Charming, they'll be bored and lonely. This job won't seem as exciting anymore. Drinks with the girls will get old, and on holidays they'll be hanging out with their married friends and their kids or their nieces and nephews, which will only make them depressed that they don't have a family themselves. I see that every day with people. People that are like, oh, I went over to my sister's and she's married with kids and just blah. Or I hate going to the get-togethers and they're still, when are you going to get married? When are you going to do all that? You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's pretty sad. I admitted that I related to these younger women who wanted to be in a relationship but had a very specific idea of what that guy would have to be like. And as I got older, I explained my dating life slowly became this lethal paradox. Desperate but picky. They knew exactly what I meant. That's so true, said Liz, a 37-year-old screenwriter. I want to shake younger women and say, the guy who laughs too loud in public may not love you the way you chew raw carrots at dinner, but it's not a deal breaker for him. These women could easily list their former deal breakers, the reasons they didn't pursue relationships when they were younger. Here's what they said. Before we get to that, what's something Paul does that annoys you? Just an average day-to-day thing that just bugs the hell out of you. But it wasn't a deal breaker, but it still annoys the heck out of you. I'll let you on that secret. Oh, go ahead.
Whenever he tells stories, he shares very unnecessary details, and it's really hard to listen to sometimes because I want to hear about his day. But he'll just like go on these like rampages where it's just like he starts just sharing stuff that doesn't even add to the story, and I'm sitting there and I feel so impatient because I'm like, can you just get to the point?
Watching my wife try to put ketchup on her food. I won't go into her chewing habits because sometimes that does get me. But I imagine I actually don't pay attention to how I chew. I'm probably pretty annoying too. But I'm watching her like beat the out of the ketchup, right? And she's like, and then all the ketchup comes out. And then she's like, oh, I think I put in too much. I was like, you think? And I'm trying to watch. She's just like banging the ketchup on the bottom. And then, anyway. All right. So here's what the women said. These are their former deal breakers. They're now in their 30s, and this is some of their breakers when they were in their 20s. He was very loving, but he wasn't romantic enough. On Valentine's Day, he made a mixtape of my favorite music. He gave me an hour-long massage, but all day at work, whenever I saw the flower guy going up the hall delivering flowers to my colleagues, I kept thinking, where are my flowers? I wanted a guy who sent flowers. Okay. He brought me flowers, said somebody else, but cheesy ones that just spoke to bad taste in the sense that I wasn't worth something more thoughtful. He wasn't. I know. You can't win sometimes. He wasn't exciting enough. I felt like we were already married, which was nice in a way, but this was supposed to be the courting period. He had long nose hairs and they grossed me out, but I didn't have the courage to ask him to trim them, so I stopped seeing him.
Oh my gosh.
What, Darcy?
Stop.
What?
You didn't have the courage to ask him to trim his nose hairs, but you had the courage to break up with him? Really?
Okay, I think you're being too hard.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, he should know that that's unattractive. Okay? He should know. He should just know that, hey, these don't look good. I need to get rid of them. Okay? God.
Maybe he's trying to incorporate it.
We're not, Oh. Okay.
I make jokes with Paul about that. Like, if his start getting too long, I'll be like, oh, you trying to add to the stash? and he'll get embarrassed and I'll go cut him.
I can imagine if I had, like, long ear hair coming out.
Right.
Those are gross, and that'd be so hard to trim. That'd be a hard time.
Most people, but see, like, a lot of, like, really good barbers will do wax.
That was cool.
To help with that.
Might have to have, I don't think I have ear hair, but I should ask and be like, hey, can you help me with this problem I don't have?
Right.
You know? And be like, yeah, I got you.
Charge you an extra $20.
Yeah, oh God, never mind. He cried the first time. I wasn't thrilled, but okay. The second time I bailed. I felt he was too weak for me. How do you feel about that? A man who cries?
It depends.
Okay. Oh, really? Please share.
I've had guys just like be pretty like babyish about stuff and just cry over like really dumb things. I'm like, dude, come on, be a freaking man. Like, man up. Really.
So what's a baby thing to you? I remember one time he made a guy cry because he told him he's never going to find his wife.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. I was not there, but that's exactly what happened, word for word.
See, but him, like, when he cried, even though I'm not a big fan of him, I didn't find that as, like, an unattractive, like, ew, stop crying. Like, it was an emotional thing. I've seen Paul cry. I like being able to be there when he cries and be able to talk him through it and stuff like that. There's, like, a certain level of crying where it's like, okay, you make me feel like you care. You know, the fact that you hurt my feelings and we're talking through this and you're tearing up, like, it tells me you really feel for that. Sure. Or if you're walking through something hard. But, like, I had one guy where it was like, I didn't see him for a couple days because I was busy, and he started crying because he was like, do you even love me? And I was like, just thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. And I was just like,
a man who cries is a man who has emotions.
It was
feelings.
It was too much.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. If he's busting out the tears like 3 dates in, do you even love me?
Right,
like,
right.
I'm out of here.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It was that dude that threatened to.
Well, those are the guys that'll ask you to marry him after like a month of dating.
Yeah.
You know, which I discourage. Okay. Now, granted, me and my wife got married pretty quick, but I don't know. I still gave it 6 months to be like, is this who I can be with? You know?
Right.
I think that's fair. So. Sometimes it works out for those people. Not me, though. F that. All right. He was too predictable. I started dating guys who always kept me on edge, and I never knew what to expect. It was terrible. Now I'd give anything for predictable. I was embarrassed by his voice. Sometimes when he'd answer the phone at my place, people would think he was me because I have a kind of low voice. Otherwise, he was very masculine and a great guy. I've heard people with some very feminine voice, you know. But was that...
Or nasally.
That bugs you? Nasally?
Yeah. It's something, though, like, if you were a good guy, I'd get used to it. I'd get over it. Like, it wouldn't be an immediate deal breaker.
I guess if they were nasally and it kept causing them to, like, you know.
No, I'm
and
speaking of the person that I made cry that you were referencing.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Moving on. I was also embarrassed by his voice. He was too optimistic. He was so cheery all the time. Even early in the morning when the alarm went off and I found that grating, he always found a silver lining. The stove broke. Let's go out for dinner. But I'd be upset that I had to buy a new stove. I didn't want to look on the bright side all the time. Then I dated a guy who was more cynical, and after a while it depressed me. So I tried to get the optimistic guy back, but he told me I was too pessimistic. Good for you, buddy. You don't need that in your life.
I will say, like, someone that's just overly optimistic can be annoying.
Yeah. But I think by the time she was in her 30s and 40s, she was like, I could have put up with that.
Right. Yeah, it's something I could put up with, but I definitely have my moments where that would make me mad, and I'd be like, can I just be upset for 5 minutes?
I agree. But if they're a good person, they can get over that.
Right.
Because those people are hypocrites. They act like they're cheery all the time, and when you get mad at something, like, oh, you just need to be thankful for where you're at. You know? But then they'll start complaining about something too. So they'll find something to complain about, and they'll act like you're the only one. It drives me crazy. Those people make me sick. I'm just kidding. He was he was completely bald, except for one of those rings of hair around his head and a little tuft poking up in the front. It was such a turnoff, but I tried to get over it because I really, really liked him. My friend said he has a nice face, he has a nice body, and besides, most guys lose their hair eventually. What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry.
He was only 35. I'd always been attracted to guys who had that kind of hair you could run your fingers through. Now I'm lucky if the guys I meet have any hair at all. And that is 100% true. He thought it was funny to make up strange words, like fabulosa. He did this a lot and in public too. Once he said it to someone at a party. Being a doctor isn't just one fabulosa after another. I was so embarrassed I broke up with him the next day.
Oh my gosh. Where are they? There's no way that the average woman thinks like this.
You don't think so? Someone in their 20s?
Do they? You tell me.
I mean,
I don't know. I barely have any women friends.
That's a good question. Okay, the average person isn't this dumb.
Okay.
But there are a lot of people that will make up something somewhat equally as ridiculous. Okay. So someone told me once that they broke up with somebody because they were just somebody better out there. To me, that's just as dumb as being upset at the fabulosa thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or,
like they were just like looking for an excuse pretty much.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
But the point of the book is, like, when you're in your early 20s or you're in college, you just think there's so many options. There's so much more out there. This guy's balding, except for one tuft out of the front. There's somebody out there who's just as cool, but has hair. You know what I mean? And you're just like...
So superficial.
Yeah. Are you against asking the guy to shave it and just be bald?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Bald is in now. It didn't used to be. It didn't used to be in, but it's in, you know? So...
Or, see if he would consider a toupee if that looks better.
Those don't look better.
If you get a nice one, I've seen some nice ones that look good.
No. You can't ask a man to glue fake hair to his head. That's just...
You can ask. I was
the single one for 30 years. He loved me too much. I felt like he was too much of a puppy dog, always looking at me with those adoring eyes. I wanted more of a manly man. That's too much. He wasn't refined enough. He couldn't order off a wine list. He'd never seen Casablanca. I wondered, how can you be 32 years old and not have seen that? Have you seen Casablanca?
No.
Okay. Well, boy, Paul should leave.
I know. What's he even doing?
I just wasn't feeling it. And now I think, but what was I supposed to be feeling? Because actually, I like being with him more than any of the guys I felt strong chemistry with before or since.
Why are all these people realizing it too late?
That's the thing. Because like she said, when you're young, you just think there's so many options. When you're 24 and you're at the top of your game, you got all these people coming up to talk to you and ask you out. So
I just feel like that's something you should realize pretty quickly when you find that good guy. If you happen to find the good guy in high school and you hadn't had anybody before that, I can see how you could be pretty like not aware of what exactly is out there. But by the time you go on a few dates, like it's pretty clear when you find a good guy and sticking with that.
People can just be mature. My first girlfriend, she said, you check off every box except one. There's always somebody better, and then she broke up with me. So, like, I don't know. There's people who are immature back in the day. Guys can be too. Like, this book's focused on women, but we have our stuff too that we don't, we're not mature all the time.
I think guys are a heck of a lot less picky than women are, but I think they're a lot less loyal than women are most of the time.
Sheesh, I don't know about that, but maybe loyal. That's another discussion. Are guys less loyal? And I can probably Google some articles, like,
see some actual statistics.
Yeah, and, maybe you're right. Maybe it's 60-40 or 70-30. I don't know, but I want to not just look up the numbers. I want to look up why. Why is
I've just seen most times, not all the time, most times, when women cheat, they find someone better or that they're more attracted to or somebody that's fulfilling them in a certain way.
Please. Get out of here.
And then
ain't nobody better than me.
And then when guys cheat, it just seems like it's just whoever's like available. And it's like multiple women, and it's not like they're chasing after this relationship. They're just like, I don't know, hookup culture maybe.
Well, there's a thing where guys are more physical, when they cheat. Right. And then women, they're always like wanting something more relational. That's why the first question after the guy cheats is, do you love her? Stuff like that. It's because it's not so much that they cheat. It's like, do they love someone other than me?
Right.
Women are more relational by design.
Yeah. So. And so, like, I don't know, anytime I've heard somebody's story about, like, my husband, my boyfriend, my something cheated on me, and they show me a picture of the girl that they cheated on them with, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like, them instead of you,
Yeah, I've never asked the girl who cheated, like, hey, let me see the guy you cheated with. Be like, oh, man,
He's a hunk.
Yeah, but I don't know that many women cheaters. I know they exist.
Right.
But I don't know, they stress me out, so I don't hang out with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Listening to these women, I thought about the reasons I'd passed up guys when I was younger. Often sight unseen, one of the most memorable was Tom, a client of my lesbian hairdresser. She told me he was handsome, charming, brilliant, chemist, and brilliant chemist, and she wanted to set us up on a blind date. He's the only guy who does it for me, she said, which sounded like quite an endorsement. Add the fact I have a science background, and this guy seemed incredibly hot, but I said no back then. I was 29, because when my hairdresser said that Tom had red hair, I didn't think I'd be attracted to him. I just knew that red hair wasn't going to work for me.
That's fair.
Yeah, just kidding. Redheads. Yeah, ugh. Run far away, man. You see a redhead.
I will say I've seen some really attractive redheads before.
I agree.
I'm thinking of women, but
oh yeah, well, I think red-haired guys look good too. I can say
I've
that.
Seen a few.
I can say that as a. Oh, so you say in general, no. Really? Okay.
For my personal type.
Granted, I haven't seen too many redheaded men. I've known quite a few, but I thought they looked okay. They have better beards than I do, so I thought they were good.
Now that I'm thinking about it, there's one guy that has red hair that was like super attractive.
I agree.
I've seen him.
I think they look great. Okay, maybe not all of them, but they're a rare breed. They're rarer than the average redhead. So there was also the cute, smart, funny lawyer I went on several dates with until I lost interest because he overused the word awesome. I remember telling a friend, everything is awesome with him. It's not great or wonderful or interesting or even cool. It's always awesome. I tried to get past it, but it irritated me every time he said it.
Are they just not communicating? Because that's what it sounds like.
This is the author talking, too. This is her talking about her own personal experience. She's talking about, so that guy that the hairdresser tried to set her up with, that's the author, and then this guy that says awesome too much, the author again. Somehow the fact that I said like and all the time didn't seem to irritate him. So she's acknowledging like, I say like, I say I say
a lot.
Sure.
A lot. And like.
I say like a lot. I've had people point it out. Yeah, but um's fine. Um's like you're pivoting to your next thought, I think. You disagree?
I say it a lot.
Okay.
When I start thinking about it, like I was talking with Paul one time, and I was just trying to pay attention to how much I say or how much he says and I was like, oh my gosh, we say that a lot.
I do recall cutting out a lot of ums when I was editing this show.
Yeah.
No, in my early 30s, there was the adorable software developer I met at a party who gave me his work number and told me to call there anytime because he said that's where I always am. I didn't want to be with a workaholic, so I never called. It didn't occur to me that maybe he was at work all the time because he was starting his own firm, or that if he had a girlfriend, he might have more of a reason to leave at night. Nor did I bother to find out because I always assumed there'd be another setup, another guy at a party, or another online prospect. Even when the available guys and the opportunities to meet them seemed scarcer as I edged in my mid-30s, I always got into serious relationships with men who met my rather strict and, in hindsight, superficial criteria. I had the attitude of, I didn't wait this long searching for the one only to end up settling. But who would I really have been settling with? Who would I really have been settling with, the redhead chemist, the lawyer who liked the word awesome, or the software guy who happened to work till midnight as he launched his business? I'll never know. Like me, the women I met with at the bar were embarrassed by the way they dismissed men in the past, evaluating every guy as either too something or not something enough. These guys didn't fit our image of the person we thought we'd end up with, leaving us to end up with nobody. I asked the group if these things would still be deal breakers for them now. If I met a guy now who hadn't seen Casablanca, said Kathy, a 38-year-old consultant, I wouldn't rule him out, but I would still be aware of it in the back of my mind.
What? Just watch it together. What?
I agree. Dude, Maddie hasn't played any of the God of War franchise. You don't even know what I'm talking about. But I was like, Maddie, let's just play these. And she's like, sure. And it's been a great time. Not for her, but for me. It's been amazing. I can't say I dismiss it completely because it speaks to a larger issue of cultural void. But overall, though, my deal breakers have changed.
It's so hard listening to this.
Yeah. The average woman, it's hard to listen to you. That's coming from another woman. Dude, we're still got let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Okay, we can do this. What would be their deal breakers now? Someone with an addiction? Someone who had a bad temper? Someone who's unkind? Someone who doesn't have a job?
No.
Someone who's not warm or doesn't have a generous spirit? Someone who's inflexible? Someone who's irresponsible? List goes on. The rest these women feel is negotiable, but it's a realization that might have come too late. In their experience, the men who will date them now often come with more serious deal breakers, whereas the guys who would date them 10 years ago didn't.
Yeah.
In a way, I'm still looking for the same guys I went with when I was 25, except that I also want them to be family-oriented, be good providers, which I wasn't thinking about back then, said Beth, a 37-year-old pharmaceutical rep. Those are the guys I used to break up with. Amy, a 43-year-old interior designer, agreed. She said that she always had boyfriends until she was 39. When she explained, I suddenly stopped getting asked out by anyone younger than 50. So I asked, why can't they go back to those guys they'd passed up, who now sound pretty appealing? What do you think their answer was? Why can't they go back to those guys?
Because they're all married.
That is
and
correct.
have kids.
They're all married. Let's see. So... So then this one, she talks to a bunch of married women. Let's see. I had to wonder, who were the women that married those guys? A week later, I met with some of them. On the surface, they seemed a lot like the women who dumped their husbands. They were around the same age, similar in terms of look and education. In fact, I can imagine these married women having become their single counterparts if they hadn't been for one distinguishing quality: the ability to redefine romance. Nancy, who's married to the predictable guy, explained it like this. I think the difference between men and women who get married and women who don't is that women who don't get married never give up the idea that they're going to marry Brad Pitt. It never occurs to them they might not get married at all. Let's see. It doesn't occur to you that maybe it's okay if the one doesn't look like Brad Pitt and earn $1 gazillion and make your knees go weak every time you're together. Well, it occurred to me, but I'm not until I was 35. That's when she met Mr. Predictable. So many women say they'd rather be alone than settle, but then they're alone and miserable. They still hold out for the same unrealistic standards, Nancy said. They assume their soulmate will appear and it'll have been worth the wait. Then they're blindsided and shocked when that doesn't happen, and it's too late. Too late, she meant, for the life that she has with a predictable guy. It is predictable, Nancy admitted, but it's a lot better than always wondering what's going on with the more exciting guys. That wasn't love. What I now know is love. I have an amazing husband and 2 wonderful kids. I couldn't ask for a better family. My husband is exciting, just in less obvious ways. Sarah, who's 42 and married to the ring of hair guy, who at 43 is now completely bald, except he still has that tuft sticking out in the front, told me that she feels lucky to have been at a place in her life at age 34 when she finally stopped getting hung up on things about things like how much hair a guy had. A year or 2 later, I couldn't even consider meeting a bald guy, she told me. So let's see. I don't know one available guy out there who's as desirable as my husband and who would also date me at this age. If I were single today, my own husband probably wouldn't date me either. I wouldn't be on his radar. Why would a 43-year-old guy who's kind and successful and funny date a 42-year-old woman who, when he could easily attract an equally interesting 35-year-old who's prettier and young enough to have kids with instead? How do you feel about that? So these women sound reasonable to you? Yeah?
Yeah. The sounds a lot more reasonable.
Yeah.
It's hard because of just like different stuff we're walking through. Because like I know in this time that, you know, Paul would definitely, I would still be on Paul's radar. But yeah, I guess as you get like older, maybe I could see where you'd feel that way. Like they could get, you know, someone just as good but younger. I don't know. I feel like that's being a little too hard on yourself, but
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know.
A lot of the times when you're dating, I feel like it could be an easy, like, you can disqualify somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that if he's single, has no kids, he's in his 40s, and then he just marries a 42-year-old with however many kids she has, like, they're, you know, I don't think it ever changes when you just disqualify somebody for something dumb. So she's saying, I think she's trying to say, it would have been easier for him to just disqualify me and meet someone who's a bit younger with no kids. You know?
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, maybe she's digging into herself a bit, but she's just trying to say, like, you know, had she not chosen him and she's in this position, he probably would have passed her up, you know, having just met her.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. Let's see. She talks to a bunch of the men in this chapter, too. So it's just a couple pages. Let's see. Okay. So she had trouble finding single men because there weren't too many. There were some, but not like from ages 25 to 40. So she tried to put an ad out, 25 to 40, to interview for the book. A typical reply went like this: I don't know any single men, but do you know any single women? I know a lot of those. Or sorry, do you need any single women? I know a lot of those. 2 weeks later, I got a quorum, but only after I expanded my definition of single to include men who weren't married but were in committed relationships. So she had trouble getting people to come in, so she expanded it. These guys, for their part, seemed as baffled as the women who went back to the same bar and asked the familiar question, why are women saying they can't find a good guy? David, 29-year-old professor, says the problem that good guys are out there, but women don't recognize them as the good guys. A woman broke up with me because she didn't like the clothes I wore, he explained. She's madly in love with a guy who dresses well but doesn't call her. His 32-year-old colleague Dan laughed. He'd been there before. Women never want what's available, he said. They can't find the perfect guy at 30. They move on to something better, but they don't learn from this. Even if they're still alone 5 years later, they get pickier. Then they're almost 40 and they haven't found the perfect guy, so they start to regret having broken up with us. But now we're not interested in them anymore. I've dated a couple people that said, and these women were older, and they said, though, well, you know, there's a guy like you when I was in my 20s, but I passed him up.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think that seems to be a recurring theme. It sounds like the guys in this book understand that too, where it's like, you know, I don't know. I've heard a bunch of women say that to me. Like, you're like the guy I passed up, but now they're in their 40s, and I'm like, I'm not interested in dating you long term. You know? I've been through that. Let's see. Kurt, who's 38 and engaged, said exactly what happened with his exes. And those perfect guys, if they do exist, want to date maybe the top 1% of 38-year-old women. But every 30-year-old woman I know thinks she's in that top 1%. All women want a 10, but are they all 10s? The answer is no. Some of them are 5s. You okay? Let's see. Steve, who's 35 and dating a lawyer, feels the same way. I think the reason some women have an inflated view of themselves is that in high school they really did have that power. So they grew up thinking it always will be that way. Even in their 20s, they still do to some extent because they're so in demand. A guy will spend all his money courting her, investing in the relationship, and then one day she'll suddenly say, you know, you're a great guy if I'm just not feeling like this is what I want. In their 30s, he continued just the opposite.
It's just so hard because, like, I don't know. When I met Paul, I thought that I was settling.
Right.
Because I didn't know how fun he was and outgoing and funny and, like, his different little quirks and all of these, you know, things that I love and find hilarious. But it's, like, especially whenever he was Christian and leading youth groups and worship at church, I was like, oh, this dude's about to be boring, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like so much like not, you know,
Right. All right, last clap of this episode. 3, 2, 1. Close enough. All right.
But we've gone skydiving, we've jumped off
Ew.
cliffs, we've gone
That's not too bad. I like cliff jumping.
we've gone, you know, like skinny dipping in the ocean, jumping off boat ramps.
I didn't need to know that. You're going too much here. I get it. It's spicy. Okay, I don't need any more of this. I understand.
Oh my gosh, whatever.
It's a very seasoned relationship, very Cajun.
Whatever. But you know, like we have fun, we have a good time. We go out and do stuff. We love a lot of the same things, or there were things I didn't know that I love now. Like I love going out to play pool with him.
Yeah.
I had no idea I love playing pool.
Really? I'm surprised. That seems like your type of thing.
Well, because you've known me since I've met Paul. I didn't know that was something I enjoyed before.
I still wouldn't have believed it. But okay,
Really?
hey, that's you admitting it. So
Okay. I don't know, just different. I enjoy watching different movies that I would never watched had I not been with Paul, and
Fair.
you know, I don't know. And so I don't know, you feel like you're settling whenever you have like this expectation they're going to be like crazy wild, best time of your life, living your early 20, you know, like you're trying to like live this 21-year-old lifestyle the rest of your life. Yeah, you're going to be set for disappointment. But I don't know, settling for like personality traits that like aren't preferable. In my case, it ended up panning out for me because it turned out his personality wasn't like that. But even if it was, like I was ready to settle down, to be with a good guy, to be treated well, to be loved, to love someone that deserved being loved by me. And I just, all of these reasons are making me go insane. Like that he didn't watch this movie, and so he's uncultured, and he didn't like his nose hairs, but didn't want to ask him to trim his nose hairs. It's like, are we for real right now?
You're questioning whether or not people like this exist.
Yeah,
I would argue they do.
I know they do. That's why it's driving me nuts. Because I'm like, what in the world? And to sit here and think that something so small as the types of clothes he wears, like, are you not looking at yourself? Like there's probably so many things about you that irritate him as well. I know I get on Paul's nerves. I know there's some things about me where he does not care for it. I know I kick the absolute crap out of him in the middle of the night because I can't sleep still.
Yeah.
I know I talk his ear off for 5 hours when he wants to just sit there and relax, and I want to go out and he wants to go home. Like, I know I'm not this like picture perfect 10 out of 10. I'm going to be the best wife like you've ever had, but you know, for Paul, like I am the best wife for him. And for Paul, he is the best husband for me, and we work well together, and it's
but his hair.
I want to smack these people,
His
dude.
5 hairs.
I want to smack these people.
If I will say, if I was a woman, I was dating a guy who had the tuft. Just that's it. That's all he has.
I would tell him to shave it.
Just tell him to pluck those out.
Right.
Honestly, it's not that, and because that would bug me.
Right.
The
tuft would bug me.
It wouldn't bug me to where I got to break up with them potentially, maybe. But I'd ask first. Hey, just pull those out.
Right.
Just hell, I'll do it. You know?
I'd get him in the middle of the night if he refused to.
Yeah. Like you can be quick. Just hold them. Like pretend you're touching it, right? Grab it and then
just like a little spaghetti noodle.
Yeah. Oh, why? Oh, they'll grow back. You know? And then he's got to fall asleep again at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, he can't stay up all night. It's doable. Okay, it's totally doable.
Right.
That's the gist of it for chapter 1. He brings up some of the other guys bring up a couple other things like guys say they don't know what they want, but they do. They just realize they don't want you. So that's why women get upset when a year later he's married already to somebody else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he found somebody that he actually wanted. You know, but that was the only other thing of note. And then she interviewed a bunch of 60-something-year-olds, but they kind of just say the same thing, but like an old person. You know, like, oh, these women nowadays just need to chill.
Right.
Know? So, same thing. I don't know. All right, what do you think? Covered a good bit of ground today?
Yeah. I think as long as it's not going against, I know you hate this word, but as long as it's not going against like your non-negotiables.
Oh, I thought you were going to say equally yoked. I'm like, shut up. I can go with non-negotiables. As long as they're reasonable.
Right.
Okay. In fact, I found a list like this woman who's just made this really long list of like, you know, here's what I want, blah, 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 and there's a list of demands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, and this is a real person making this list. And I'm like, you know, you're not going to find anything that matches that. You know,
I have seen that from like the guy's side as well, though. Like,
what does our list look like? What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sound like an F boy.
Yes, you did.
So there was this one where this guy's like listing out like, okay, she needs to be skinny and look like a model, but like she better be eating all these burgers with me.
Oh yeah.
First of all, that can't happen.
You've already just lost me.
Yeah. So, and then it's like, oh, I want her to be a stay-at-home wife and cook all the food and stuff like that, but she needs to be able to use her own money to go do stuff. But she can't work.
Yeah.
So it's like,
okay. Yeah, you're right.
I've seen just as ridiculous stuff from guys where it's just like, oh, she needs to, you know, be this way, but then say something that she also needs to do that doesn't correlate.
Right.
You want a wife that stays at home, takes care of the kids? Cool.
You're gonna be paying for it.
Right. You want a wife that works and you guys can figure stuff out with the kid? Cool.
Microwavable dinners.
You know, but like you can't expect her to be a stay-at-home mom or wife, but then be able to use her own spendings without having a job. Or you know, you want somebody that eats burgers with you. Cool. She might have like a 10-pound happy pouch then. You know, like that's what
I like
comes
realistic
with that.
body types.
If you
on women.
right, if you want her to be supermodel, you know, you need to be okay that you guys eat vegetables for dinner. Like you can't have it both ways.
That's a deal breaker for me. I can't do it. I can't eat vegetables to save my life. I've tried. Literally just saved my life. I can't do it.
Yeah, you did a veggie diet and you just straight up starved yourself the whole time. And I was like, you need to eat. And you're like, I can't.
I need to stick all these carrots up there.
Gotta get your nutrition
Yeah.
some way.
All right, that should be good for today. All right, Darcy, thanks for hopping on. Now
Yeah,
we are
of
set
course.
for weeks and weeks upon end.
Nice.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion. See you guys next time.
See you guys.